Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Speak the Truth podcast. I am your host, Matt Tardio, and I am being joined today by Robert Turkla, the other host of today's
That's
episode.
exciting.
Today's episode is being sponsored by Kalshi. Right now, over inside of Israel, there is some big news. It looks like there's a massive drone wave that's on its way over as we speak. And I just read a message right before we started shooting this video, and it is 3:52 p.m. Central Standard Time, that there is a massive drone wave of over 1,000 drones that is being rumored to be en route to Israel. Now, all of this started just a few hours ago when Israel made this announcement. The IDF conducted an aerial operation and struck several terror targets belonging to Hezbollah's intelligence headquarters in Syria. In recent weeks, the IDF has significantly degraded Hezbollah's intelligence headquarters, destroying MI assets in Lebanon. The targeting of Hezbollah's MI assets in Syria further contributes to the IDF operations in Lebanon, undermining the intelligence abilities of the Hezbollah terrorist organization. Now, that was the first information that ended up coming out today as far as what was taking place, particularly that individual target was. That target happened to be this gentleman right here. This guy right here. Rob, you see this guy?
Yeah, he's a senior military commander within Hezbollah. He's actually in charge of their special forces known as the Radwan unit. I may have mispronounced that, but that's what it is. He led operations across Syria and Yemen, and his involvements in the region, in those regions were actually, he was doing a lot of border strategy to provide training, equipment, personnel. He was doing a lot of destabilization throughout that entire portion in the Middle East. And in 2016, the United States State Department actually designated him as a global terrorist under executive order. Doesn't really matter. Now, apparently it was supposed to disrupt his financial networks and restrict his movements. They actually offered a $5 million reward for information leading to his capture, highlighting his significance inside of Hezbollah's hierarchy entirely. So he was a kind of a big deal. Now, I will say there's no, they didn't really do a very good job of curbing his taste for terror, because apparently the international sanctions and efforts did not really do very much. But they say he's dead. But as of right now, there's no actual confirmed reports indicating the death of this gentleman. So he still remains a senior military commander within Hezbollah, if that helps.
Yeah, and I'm hearing, like on my side, I'm hearing that it's Lebanese media sources that are reporting that he's dead. So it's not like Israel didn't come out and confirm it and say he's dead. It's just the Lebanese military sources are saying he's dead. Right?
Yeah, I mean that's all I know. So
right. So now the interesting part about this was, like, immediately following it, we had reports of explosions taking place outside, within a few kilometers of Netanyahu's house, is when these explosions and stuff started to go down. Now, that would be the second time that they tried to target Netanyahu, if that is in fact true. But what I heard, like prior to jumping on here with you, Rob, was that there was no indication whatsoever that Netanyahu's house was hit, or maybe it wasn't even the actual intended target. Now, the next thing that we ended up getting coming out of Lebanon was this. This is right outside of Damascus. I'm going to zoom in on the map for you. This is allegedly where this strike ended up taking place, or so we've heard from the back channels. And this is, I guess, a still image of the aftermath that ended up coming out afterwards. Now, if we were to put up Damascus on the map, for those of you guys that don't know, here it is for you. And if you zoom in on Damascus and you go all the way down, this is the suburb, if you will, that you were just looking at, the Zainab suburb over inside of Damascus, where the airstrike took place, where they ended up taking him out. Now, significant for several reasons that this ended up taking place out here, because in the past, when we have seen airstrikes taking place over inside of Damascus, generally outside of the Iranian embassy over there, or they're always spotting like targets leaving the Iranian embassy, and they've done airstrikes on vehicles. But then recently is like the last 30 days over there for vehicles that were leaving. So the fact that it's over in Damascus gives me a little bit more of a warm and fuzzy that is the individual who indeed was targeted. Now, if you look as you're leaving Damascus, you see the international airport is just off to the side. So here we have the area of the strike right here, and here we have the Damascus airport. So it is possible that the Hezbollah commander was leaving Damascus on his way to the airport in order to fly back into Beirut when the Israelis ended up striking him. Now, because of all of that, we ended up having this report of a large wave of drones now, allegedly over like 1,000 drones And this is all coming through back channels. I just finished reading it with Rob. It was very troubling. And there's a lot of information that's coming out of Israel right now saying that you need to get north, get away from Tel Aviv, because people are worried about them going after Tel Aviv itself with this massive wave of drones, which is going to take several hours. But at the time of filming this, which is 3:58 p.m., or Central Standard Time. So hopefully we have this up and running within the next hour. You should have about an hour's worth of warning or so if this is actually true before those drones start striking. But we are also now getting reports that this massive drone wave is reached the Syrian border right up over here. I've been getting reports of interceptions taking place in this general vicinity on the map that you guys have up on your screen. So they are on their way, or so it would seem. Rob, have you heard anything about that yet?
No, I just pulled up something really weird though. And this is, I didn't know this. Did you know Hezbollah has a Navy?
Yes.
It's not a formidable, it's not a real Navy, of course, because it's Hezbollah, but they actually have some type of, I'm going to say this very, very lightly here. They have some type of structure, quote unquote structure, where they actually have a Navy. Do you know they scooped up, they send some guys in.
Yes, I do.
Yep. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. They came in Lebanon in speedboats, like 80 something miles, picked them up. And
I do.
But
that took place on, I want to say it was Saturday. And I can actually point out to you right where that went down. I touched on the video last time. So let me get you back up there.
87 miles north of Israel's border inside of Lebanon. They took rubber crafts up there, scooped this dude up and left.
Yep. So right here, you've got Tripoli on the map. You've got Tripoli on the map right here. And then you've got Beirut. In between those two locations, you've got Batroun. And this is where it ended up going down at, was right over here in this coastal town. And so Israel had sent in the equivalent of their Navy SEALs to go in and scoop them up. And there is like a 2-minute clip or something like that of them dragging the dude out and loading him up that got caught on surveillance. Other than that, ghost. He's been back getting Israeli love ever since then.
Yeah, I know. I mean, not really shocking, because I guess the Taliban also claims they have a Navy as well. But just kind of, what is the date? Today's the 4th. Okay.
So today's the 4th. Now, I do want to point out something significant on the map for the folks at home for like the time being. There was, and I ended up having it up earlier, there was a lot of aircraft that were circling Tel Aviv that looked like that was where they were en route to, but they weren't able to land. And it's been that way for quite some time. So you can see it up on the map right now, where we just have aircraft circling over Tel Aviv that are just remaining airborne. I did have one up there for a while that ended up landing. But I also saw down on the runway, it was like there was a, I don't want to say this, at the Ben Gurion airport, there was like a bird explosion, like go away thing, like bird clear out thing. But other than that, man, it looked like they actually had jamming equipment up over top of Israel for a short while there. And that's all gone. But interesting enough, when we go over and we look at Iran, the airspace over Iran has been completely cleared out on the eastern side. Most of these planes that are over Iran have all originated either in Iran or they're private jets like this. Most of these flights are inbound to Tehran. This one's out of Dubai going into Tehran. So all of that has basically cleared out now. Earlier this morning, I think when you and I were doing the live, I was telling you that there was, a lot of the air traffic was sticking to the western side. Now look at it. There's like nothing over in, a lot of the air traffic was sticking over in eastern Iran. Now it's like everybody's steering clear. And you now have this like major air traffic flow to the north and south, or even like far east going all the way around. And that is very odd for Iran, even at this time of night.
Yeah, there's a gentleman, it's like, I'm not going to be able to say his name, but he's a senior researcher with the Washington Institute. He believes actually the retaliatory strike is actually going to happen tomorrow evening. So, and he thinks that it's going to involve at least 400 different missiles that are going to be aiming towards Israel's air defense bases and sites, as well as Israel's defense manufacturing industries around the entire city of Haifa. They're going to be using, so these are called, I'm going to actually copy this in because I can get the exact stats on it, because I'm not going to be able to say it, but it's a Khorramshahr 4. You know what I'm talking about there?
Is that the one with the 3,500 kilogram warhead?
I don't know. Let me actually, I don't know. I'm doing this.
Kilogram warhead. It's a massive warhead.
We're going to find out together. Just give me 1 second. It's got a 1,240 mile range. Warhead. Okay. Warhead is 3,300 pounds.
Yep. That'd be the
So
one.
it's okay. So it's one of the heaviest ones that they have inside their arsenal. Propulsion, utilize liquid fueled engine. We don't really care about that. Its guidance is equipped with a mid-phase navigation system that enables trajectory adjustments outside the Earth's atmosphere. So,
right. So
enhancing its accuracy. Yeah.
I'm almost positive this is their largest ballistic missile that they have.
Would you say
no, it is 3,300 kilograms?
No, it is. It says it right here. One of the, yeah, it is the largest. I think it's the heaviest one in Iran's missile arsenal.
Right. So
this guy
massive.
claims, I don't want to keep cutting you off, I'm sorry, but he claims that they're going to shoot 400 of these tomorrow. And they're calling them their medium range ballistic missiles. And this is not going to be launched from Iranian. I don't know this to be the case, just so you guys know, but they don't believe that's going to be launched from Iranian backed areas, or excuse me, territory like actual Iran. Do you know where they're going to be launched from? If you were to take a guess.
Yemen. But then again, I wouldn't even say Yemen. I would likely say Iraq and or Lebanon. Honestly,
no, Iraq for sure. They say Iraq and possibly Syria.
Syria could be Syria. Lebanon, I don't know. Lebanon's been getting hammered pretty hard, so maybe Syria. Yemen. The only reason I don't think they'd come from Yemen is because they suck at shooting ballistic missiles. You know, they've shot multiple ballistic missiles at Israel. None of them impacted what they wanted them to. They've just kind of like slammed down in the desert.
But the Iranian army is apparently going to also use their long-range attack drones and Su-24 MK tactical bombers. Now, with those,
that's not going to turn out very good.
I was going to ask, like, how is so this Su-24 MK? I mean, it's going to be what, Soviet made?
What'd you say the range was on those 1,200?
1,240 miles. So miles? I guess, you can actually, 1,240.
So
2,000 K.
So from there, we're basically looking right about that on the screen, you know, and granted, this is a little bit of a curved line or whatever going in, but that'll get you close to Tel Aviv and Haifa. So, I mean, you're looking, they can fire these dang things from pretty much all the way over inside of Eastern Iran, you know, in order to make that happen. All the way down here, you're looking at about a 1,200 mile range. So that's pretty significant.
There's no shot on God's green earth that they're going to use these Su-24s. There is none.
Why?
Zero.
Why would you say that?
Well, these things were dumbed down and then they're Soviet made, but they were then dumbed down and then sold to Iraq, Libya, Syria. Iraq, Syria, Libya, Algeria, and then of course Iran.
They're going to get blasted out the sky if they try.
Yeah,
like that's just not going to turn out good for them.
No. There's no way. That's not going to work.
They can't and they shouldn't. They're going to get blasted out of the sky. Their best chance is these ballistic missiles. Like seriously,
the ballistic missiles. But now that reading this, that guy actually believes this. And why do I want to believe that they're going to shoot 400 missiles? Where do you get this number from? Now I got to look at this guy.
So again, right now, what I'm seeing is on these back channels, right?
So if you guys do not know what Kalshi is, don't worry, I'm about to fill you in. Trump is sitting at 55% to win, which means your money will go even farther than it did last week. It was at 63% to win. So your $100 you put in or your $10 you put in, whatever it is, would have won as far. Now, you think Kamal's going to win, it's going to go even further because she only has at a 44% shot to win this thing. Right now is the time to enter at Kalshi. Put your money where your mouth is. You guys go to Kalshi.com/Rob, and the first 500 traders who deposit $100 will get a free $20 credit. It is that simple. You put 100 in, they're giving you 120 right now. Go ahead. You know what? Let's click on Trump. Let's go ahead and click on Trump and put that $120 on Trump and see how much you have to win.
120?
120. Let's see what it is. You're going to win $214. Look at that. You'll win a profit of $94, guys. What are you guys doing? Click the link at the very top of the description. It's that simple. Go to Kalshi. But if you think Harris is going to win, click on her. Click no. Click no on Trump. He is not going to win. Put that 120. You will win $266, which is $146 in profit. It's that simple, guys. Go to Kalshi.com/Rob. It'll be linked at the very top of the description. Thank you so much to Kalshi for sponsoring this episode.
Like on all these back Telegram channels where these terrorists are announcing this stuff, what I am seeing, like I said, is hundreds, if not like the last one I read right before we came on here was over 1,000 drones, which are en route or will be en route to impact in the next 2 hours. So we've got about no time to go really, because that came out, about 15 minutes ago before we started filming. So they could be either impacting as we're making this video towards the end or right when we send it out. But this, in my opinion, is the reason that all of this is happening, because we ended up taking out that Hezbollah chief. The Hezbollah chief of staff got taken out by Israel, followed by, the operation from this weekend that ended up taking out the naval commander when Shayat Toutine came in and like scooped his butt up over there. And Iran was already talking about launching prior to the election. Now, it wouldn't surprise me if Hezbollah was spearheading this entire thing, right? Spearheading Iran's response. And by Israel taking that gentleman out over inside of Damascus or right outside of Damascus, that's kicking everything off because he was the key driving factor between everything. Does that make kind of some sense for you?
Mm-hmm.
Like essentially this was a trigger point now because they were originally planning on doing it tomorrow, but Israel's onto them. They obviously have intel. They took this sucker out. So now they're going to have to launch it preemptively against Israel. Like before they wanted to, now they've got to attack Israel because Israel likely, if they took him out, likely has the intelligence and will launch a preemptive attack on Iran. So if Iran wants this thing to go well, they're going to have to do it immediately.
Why wouldn't they want to shoot him from Iran?
Why would they not shoot them from Iran? Why choose Iraq?
I mean, they have the capability to shoot him from Iran, correct?
So last I checked, they require some sort of radar guidance, things of that nature. These ones, I'm not 100% sure, but I do know that during the last attack that Israel did over inside of Iran, that they ended up taking out a bunch of the guidance, like radar guidance towers and stuff like that for the GPS to talk back and forth. And so it could be that they have to move these to Iraq and Syria and launch them from there, because they still have like some guidance, like radar guidance that's capable of, controlling the dang things. That intelligence is far beyond what I have access to, but that would track with what we've heard open source wise.
Well, you want to hear about some good stuff that actually came from Iraq, I guess. So the defeat ISIS mission inside of Iraq and Syria. This is, we of course have to say this out loud, but they have a partnership with security forces in Iraq and Syria. US CENTCOM conducted 95, and they're calling them Defeat ISIS operations, de-ISIS, some of which included unilateral strikes inside of Syria. These operations resulted in 163 terrorists killed and 33 captured, including over 30 senior and mid-level ISIS leaders. Now, these operations actually resulted in seizure of significant enemy material that could aid in future disruptions. It's kind of crazy. They spelled material incorrectly.
Of course they did. Is it CENTCOM site? There's like some 10-year-old that's like controlling it, right? So last week, I want to say it was last week.
Kind of funny.
I know, right? I want to say it was last week. CENTCOM announced that they had taken out the ISIS commander in Iraq in like a joint operation. And 2 U.S. service members ended up getting wounded during that joint operation. Obviously, they conducted it with Iraqi SF as well. Ended up taking out the ISIS leader in Iraq. It was a blip on the radar that CENTCOM blasted out. Nobody cares. There's a reason I think we're seeing that uptick in U.S. operations over inside of Iraq, particularly against nations like ISIS, right? Because all of that crap is being tied together. Everybody is kind of putting their everything aside and going after Israel at this point. Like all of these different terror organizations are now going after Israel. They've all put their, what I mean, I guess if you really think about it, like their sectarian splits of Islam aside for the greater good of attacking Israel and the United States.
Yeah, that seems pretty fair.
I don't know about pretty fair, but I mean, it's what they're doing. I did
that's pretty much what they're doing.
Well, I did a huge report on it over the weekend, and I don't know if you saw it or not, but over inside of Afghanistan, there is a massive intel dump on all of these different terror camps over there. And it's ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and the Taliban, the Haqqanis. They're all putting their differences aside and now doing joint training for a massive operation over in the EU and against the United States, believe it or not. So,
I know it's super random and out of left field here. Alex Jones. There's an election fraud alert, just so you guys know, coming from Alex Jones.
Well, wouldn't you know it? And it would not surprise me. I think we talked about this a little bit this morning on this morning's live broadcast, that I feel like it would not be outside of Iran's realm to launch a major attack against Israel to try to overshadow any sort of election news or anything like that that's taking place, right? Like,
because they don't want Trump to win.
They really don't want Trump to win.
No shot.
In my opinion, though, that would make Trump look better because the Biden-Harris administration hasn't been able to handle the situation in the Mideast very well. And I think it's just going to exacerbate the situation for people not wanting to vote for them. At that point in time, you need an actual wartime president. You know what I mean? Like you do not want Kamala Harris to be president for a war. Like that's just stupid, in my opinion.
Actually, Monica Lewinsky does.
Of course, Monica Lewinsky does. She doesn't.
She actually does.
Come on, man.
She just pulled up on my feet again.
No,
but yes, she does.
I'm so over. Like it is so stupid. Look, Kamala Harris has number one. The Biden-Harris administration called for a ceasefire in between Lebanon and Israel, not Hezbollah and Israel. Lebanon and Israel. Lebanon and Israel were not fighting, but they called for a ceasefire in between the two. Mind blown. They also called for Israel not to invade Rafah. This was Harris in particular on Israel not to invade Rafah when Israel was stacked up outside of it in April, delaying the operation several weeks. The Biden administration did by not sending weapons and equipment over to Israel. And again, pushing this peace talk agenda between Israel and Hamas that we've heard about all year long, which hasn't turned into anything other than delayed operations. Then we ended up seeing multiple hostages get killed inside Rafah. All right, one being Hirsch Goldberg, a U.S. citizen. It is just absurd at this point that anybody would even consider this woman as a wartime leader with everything that's going on in the Middle East. She does not understand what is taking place on the ground. She does not understand this radical ideology, and we get walked over. And let's be blunt about this. We would absolutely lose any sort of freaking like credibility that we have left over in the Middle East by having a woman president. And that's just how it is. That's not me saying that. That's their views. That's their beliefs, right? You think Iran's got little respect for us right now? Put Kamala Harris in office and see what happens. Do it.
Oh, U.S. State Department, man. They just said that they sent a message to Iran and of course, the Iranian leader that they should not escalate the conflict itself inside the Middle East, but that if they do, the United States will defend its interest in the regions and Israel. This was 2 hours ago.
Yeah, of course. Of course they ended up putting that out, man. Of course they did. That's because they know all of this crap's going on that we just talked about. So we're sending our warnings to Iran. We're trying to tell them, hey, don't do this crap. But at the end of the day, they're going to do what they're going to do. And the U.S. State Department has been very weak. The Biden administration has been extremely weak when it comes to Iran and all of their aggression, everything going out. Like, it's disturbing, to be perfectly honest with you. The way they've handled this entire situation, it just gives me a pain in my gut. Again, seeing that flight going from Moscow that now looks like it disappeared. I don't know if you remember me tracking that when we first showed up. Yeah. But yeah. So it probably landed in Damascus. It's not on the map anymore. It's gone. Unless people are jamming it. Yeah, it's gone. So that's gone. So it likely ended up landing in Damascus. And again, wasn't showing where it was coming from. And that same company that was like contracted for that flight is a similar one that I've seen coming out of Mashhad and flying into Lebanon as well. Russian company transferring weapons. Like, I am so over this crap. It's not even funny. And why is that flight going into Damascus unannounced immediately following the Hezbollah commander being killed?
Well, you know, the election that happens here tomorrow, a lot of people are going to be voting. Is there's a couple things to remember. Is the implication on the amount of money that's going to be sent and how much one country can do inside of a war compared to the other. If Trump wins, Israel is going to continue to fight terrorism. If Kamala wins, guess what they're going to do as well? The same exact thing.
Yeah, nothing's.
There's going to be no change in the Middle East. Now, if Trump wins tomorrow, there's going to be a significant change, more than likely, in the Ukrainian side of this conflict, or inside of the, I guess you'd say, the conflicts we speak about. But then again, there's going to be nothing happening in Israel. It's going to be the same. So that's probably the biggest implications myself. I can see when it comes to the stuff that we talk about now. Tomorrow we got, I guess from a normal average American standpoint, there's a lot of implication for tomorrow if you think about it, because there's a lot of things that have been writing. I read a post that, under the current administration, not saying that they had a lot to do with anything, but something hotels, for instance, they're up 45% since the beginning of the Biden. 45%.
Right, and who cares? My biggest thing is national security. Like, my biggest worry is national security.
That's not that might be yours, but a lot of people that are average Americans, you know what they care about?
Yeah,
food
the price of groceries.
prices.
Yeah, and I get
Yeah,
that.
that's
And I
it.
get that.
That's
And
it.
okay, so where did our food prices rise? Like if where did the food prices rise?
Actually, I want to ask. I don't know. Let's see. How
I,
much?
I I know where it came from, and it just drives me insane. It is ridiculous. Inflation is through the roof, and depending on, and here's the problem once you go down that rabbit hole, Rob, is depending on which one you look at, you got to look at the commodities that they're including in the overall food pricing. And so some of them, like the ones that the current administration has been put out, have excluded key things like milk, eggs, and crap like that, and try to make it seem a certain way. Fact is that your major grocery store retailers, right? Your major grocery store retailers, Tyson's Chicken, right? You know, Tyson's Chicken, they've been operating at a deficit over the last 2 years. Deficit, like in the
Yeah,
red.
they might be getting
The-
some type of subsidy or something from the
Your
government to
major
continue.
grocery store chains maybe have a 1 to 2% profit margin, like
Yeah,
max
that's
of
actually true.
3%
Yeah,
profit margin.
yeah,
It's extremely low. And
yeah.
all you hear about from the Biden administration is we're going to make these guys pay, or we're going to make them reduce prices. They can't. They're on paper thin margins, if not operating in the red. So if that's your concern, don't vote for them because they're about to make it even worse. Even worse. If you're concerned about national security, don't vote for Biden Harris freaking Tim Walz because they're going to make it worse. Not to mention Tim Walz 100% is full of crap, in my opinion. He's not a retired command sergeant major. He's not a retired sergeant major. He's a retired master sergeant who has zero combat experience, despite of what he says about carrying weapons of war in
who is
war.
that?
Tim,
Who?
the vice presidential nominee
Oh, yeah.
for Kamala
no.
Harris.
Yeah.
He's an
No,
idiot.
yeah, I know. We're not going to go down the path of that guy.
And we're not even going to talk about his ability to handle a shotgun. The whole thing is absolutely disgusting. Like it is so ridiculous. Like the amount of gaslighting coming from that party. I don't know. I know who I'm voting for, Rob. I'm pretty sure you know who you're going to vote for at the end of the day. Yeah, I'm voting for national security. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to vote for national security. You got anything you want to say?
No. I just pulled up a video of some Afghan National Army guys running over a massive pressure plate IED.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, serves him right. Serves him right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we will catch you on the next go around. Peace, love, happiness, and God bless. We are out of here.